Well, good afternoon. I'm just in the process of rewinding an armature out of this Triang switcher, and I showed you the results of one of my earlier ones the other day. I just thought I'd give you a bit of a clue on how to get started if you're actually feeling the inclination. And you can see there in front of you that there is the armature. Okay, now that's the commutator, and there's the gear. Now, to remove the gear, you probably the best idea is to get one of these. It's a gear puller. Pretty easy to use. You just fasten it in the sleeve there in behind the gear. You match up the driving post with the axle, and you only have to screw a few mil and you'll feel it give, and then pretty well you can hand twist it off. So anyway, once you remove the gear, you just have to slide the commutator off. Now you have to do that carefully. Sometimes they'll come off by hand if you just twist them, but sometimes you might have to get a pair of pliers. These old ones are the ones that I've used with that gap. And you just put some, well, I use cloth, and you just lightly close it around it, just lightly, and just twist it a little bit. And you don't want to damage that, so you go very easy with them. You don't need to use a lot of pressure. It just gives you purchase. Then it slides off. It's pretty easy. And this one's in still reasonable condition. I've cleaned it up. I just soaked it in methylated spirits and rubbed it with a fiberglass pencil. So anyway, once you get to that process, that gives you pretty fair access to the. I'm just going to move that magnet out of the way. It's putting me off. That gives you access to the poles. Now, I treat the gear, or the axle end that I strip everything off, as the north. So I just consider that north, and so I anchor the first. This is the gauge wire that I use. It's I don't know what the brand is there. It's what are we? Okay, that's looking like a Korean name maybe, or Chinese name. Probably Chinese. It's 0.1 millimeter enameled wire, and it looks like that. Now that is pretty well what I consider to be what was originally used. Now that piece, I'm just going to try and touch it. This piece here that I've got my finger on, hang on, oh god, that's terrible, sorry. That's an original piece of wire that I've removed, and when you look at the gauge, well, I just dropped that piece of wire, but anyway, it's pretty comparable with what this gauge is. So once you anchor it I use tape, I anchor the first piece to the top and just start winding. Now I wind anti-clockwise, so I come down from my left and wind back up and around and around. Now that's an entire roll on there, and once you come to the end, I'll try and get this so that you can see what I've done. You get your new lead, which is this one here. You tin both ends. You give them a tap, and then you twist it, and you create just a length of tinned twisted wire. You leave that at a length. That'll become important later on when you reinsert the diaphragm that goes in between the commutator and the head of the poles. So anyway, I've wound one pole already, and I've just started the second. So I'll continue with this. Oh, I meant to tell you, before you start winding anything, you have to put some kind of a insulating product in there. I use nail polish, clear nail polish. This is the brand I've been using. I find it. Oh, here you go. It's up on the lid. It's a 60 seconds super shine, so it dries pretty quickly. Put a few coats on, so it prevents the it helps to prevent the wire catching on those metal edges that are that make up the poles. They are sharp because when you pull out the wire, the original wire, the original coating it looked like shellac. It just is so dry, it flakes off, so it's no use to you. So just give it a really good clean. Also make sure that you test that there is no continuity between the actual axle and the poles. So there's a plastic diaphragm tube that runs up the middle of that, which prevents it from having contact with the axle. If you have got contact, well then that's another problem. I don't know whether you just pull it off and try and substitute another piece of material into that plastic and then reinsert the part. It'd probably be doable, but I just haven't had that problem yet. So anywho, I'll keep winding and I'll rebuild this and hopefully it'll work, and we'll come back and I'll show you the motor running. So, hooroo.